So sometimes when we think about gratitude, we think that it's kind of the nicety over there. It's not really a necessity, right? And I have come to believe, much like joy, it is something that when we place it in the center, it actually gets us all the other things that we think that we want at work, all the measurements that we take, like engagement and productivity and all of those kinds of things. But it's really the heart of the matter. As I've been researching for the book, one of the concepts that we've talked about is the connection between people and that there's a loneliness epidemic. And last week, when Kevin Monroe was on our show, we talked about the connection between people that happens when you truly express gratitude. And that gratitude deployed makes change in your workplace. And so we're going to bring Kevin on in a second. If you are new here and you haven't listened to us before, so glad that you're here. Welcome to the community. We do everything here on 3 bedrock beliefs. And number 1 is that we have to lead from a deep connection to everything that makes us human. Number 2, we can create positive culture, the positive culture that we all want if we embrace the complexity and all the complex people that you work with, because that's all we got. And number 3, that joy is the heartbeat of a healthy leader and a healthy organization. And so that is what we're doing here. I'm Jen Whitmer, international keynote speaker and host, and just really all around joy bringer, and helping us and hosting our conversations and helping you take this idea into your everyday walking around life, whatever the ideas are that we're talking about, because that is how we change. That is how we create a movement of change. And that's what we're doing here. So we are welcoming Kevin back. So Kevin is also a speaker and a consultant, and he helps workplaces really transform their organizations through gratitude and helps keep your people and helps really create high engagement and renewed motivation through his frameworks. And so we talked about some last week, so make sure you go back and listen to that episode. But now we're going to welcome Kevin back. Yay!
Hey, Jen, thank you. And I'm so glad to be back. And hey, you talked about this. So, hey, I've rolled up my sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
So we can get to work on making this practical.
Literally. So I want to jump into practice, but I also want to just address the cynic in the room. The one who's kind of like, I mean, really, does it really matter? Or they've been burned, the cynic on the other side, who's been burned by what I'm going to call fake gratitude or performative gratitude that didn't pass the test of people feeling seen, heard, valued, and appreciated, and that connection to our human to human. How do you help them, before we jump into how you do this, how do you help them see that it matters?
Okay. Probably like you do as well, through the power of storytelling, right? And asking them to either reflect on a time when this happened well, or think about the boss you worked for, or think about the team you were a part of. And have you ever been a part of a team when you all did all the extra work, and you worked the weekend and you worked late nights and you did all of this effort, and then on Monday the leader of the team takes all of the credit and throws everybody else under the bus?
Oh,
How did you feel when that happened?
yeah.
Right? I mean, stories, whether we are looking at those high point stories or whether we are looking at those, really horrific stories that we wish didn't happen, but they happen in organizations. There are times that people forget to give credit where credit is due. And there are times that people, perhaps out of their insecurity, steal credit that belongs to someone else. But when that happens, you know what it feels like to either receive it or not. And when okay, so here are a couple of things that we could figure out real quickly. And let me just ask this question, Jen. How long does it take you When you walk into a company for the very first time, and we've not talked about this before, Jen's not prepped for this question.
No, now I'm a little nervous.
How long does it take you to get a feel for what the culture is like there?
Get a feel?
Just a feel. I mean, you walk
Yeah,
through the door,
I'm
right?
gonna
And you
say an
just walk up,
open feel, not a judgment, but just
not
an
a,
open feel pretty quickly within the first, I would say, couple interactions, which is
yeah.
within the first couple minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
within the first couple of minutes, you either go, "Oh, something is seriously off here. There is a vibe. Uh,
Mhm.
there is no joy in this place." I mean, when did they start the dirge? Right? I mean, that's what you just look around, or you walk in and you go, "Wow." The security guard greeted me before I ever walked in the office. I walk in the office and there's the receptionist and there's a sign that says, "Welcome, Jen." And and people are coming out. It's like, yeah, you feel it. You feel that vibe. It doesn't take
Mhm.
long, right? And employees feel that when they show up to work each day.
Yeah.
They get that feeling is, oh gosh, here's another day we got to get through.
Mhm.
Or when they're part of a team where they feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated, they show up ready to give extraordinary effort. They're
That's
ready
the
to
ripple
go above
effect.
and beyond. Pardon?
That's the ripple effect.
That's the ripple effect.
That's the ripple effect because my friend Carrie Campbell calls it discretionary effort. I mean, I'm sure a
Eh,
lot of people do,
right.
but she's the one I hear talk about it the most. And she works in the hospitality industry. So lots of frontline workers facing
Lots of
difficult people. And so she is the vice president of events at the Red Sox. There's a lot of people coming through Fenway.
Mhm.
And but that discretionary effort that people come when they experience that is super powerful and ripples out. Not just, I don't think it just happens at work. I think it then ripples out into your community, into your home life, because your discretionary effort almost seems to multiply in that
Absolutely.
space.
All right, so I've got to unpack one other thing before we get into this. Joy. You're the third thing you share is joy is the center,
The heartbeat. Yeah.
the heartbeat. The joy is the heartbeat. Okay. Here's what I've noticed, and I bet you've noticed it too. Joy never travels alone.
No, no, she has many
Gratitude
sisters.
never travels alone.
Uh-huh.
And I use this metaphor all the time. And something, if people have never heard the metaphor, I was talking with a happiness expert and a kindness expert. And when I use this metaphor, they're like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Have you ever been to the circus? And here comes the clown car, and it's this little Fiat or little Volkswagen Beetle, and all of a sudden it opens up, and 12 to 15 clowns start piling out of this car. It's impossible for 12 to 15 people to fit in that car.
Except yet they do.
That's what happens when you bring joy. When the joy car shows up at work, there's not just one, it's not just joy that gets out. If the
Mhm,
joy car is showing up in your office, the gratitude's right there with it.
mhm,
Abundance, kindness, compassion,
mhm.
grace,
Yeah.
patience, those things show up with it. And gratitude, same way. When gratitude shows up, gratitude never travels alone.
Mhm,
Gratitude brings its friends with them. So when you have any of these desirable qualities in your team, in your office, you got others. And several of these are catalytic values, right? Joy is a catalytic value. Gratitude is a catalytic value. A catalytic value ignites the
mhm,
growth of other values without being consumed in the process,
mhm.
right? When you are grateful, you get joy, you get kindness, you get abundance. And guess what? You didn't lose gratitude in the process.
No.
Gratitude's still there as a catalyst. So
Mhm.
I just want to make that call out, right? When you look at these, yeah, you see all of these connected because they are connected.
Yes.
And
Ab
likewise, when you show up at a workplace and there is no joy, there's probably no gratitude either. There's probably nobody being kind,
Yeah.
right? It's a real harsh, it's critical, uh, it's punitive, the
Mhm.
environment, and you feel it.
Yeah. You feel
Now
it.
imagine being that worker What workplace do you if the workplace wants you to give discretionary effort? Okay, years ago I worked for a VP. This was the poster in his office. The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he also had a coffee cup that says, "Obviously, you've mistaken me for someone who gives a."
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've seen
And there
those.
were times that you're asking for something, and you just pick up the cup, point to it, right? Well, if you're at that kind of workplace, they want discretionary effort, but it's punitive culture.
Mhm.
How do people show up in the morning?
No.
They're dragging in, right?
Well, because it doesn't feel like discretionary effort. It feels like being sucked out, like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
forced,
Life's being sucked out
yeah,
of you.
a forced
And when at the
sacrifice.
end of the day, there's nothing left.
No,
And I
nothing.
love what you said, right? At these generative workplaces. I've never used that phrase before. Can we call them generative workplaces?
I like it.
At the end of the day, if you work at a generative workplace, when you leave, you got extra energy to take home
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
You're feeling good because of the
Mhm.
contributions you made and that your contributions were appreciated, and you work in an environment where joy is the norm,
Yeah.
right? They're pumping joy through the HVAC system, and it's like, wow, joy's just, it's permeating the environment. When
Yeah.
I leave a joy-filled place, I carry joy with me.
Mhm.
When I leave a gripe-filled place,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what comes too, and you
yeah,
feel so drained. So, help us we have just a few minutes to get
yeah,
really tactical. You rolled up your sleeves, you are ready. How do we
yeah,
actually create a practice of this? And I always love the word practice because it means that it's ongoing, it's not
yeah.
perfection, it's not one and done. And in our leadership with words, rituals, rhythms, meetings, how do we create those moves and not tip over
Yeah.
into what I call toxic positivity or bypassing,
Yep,
that
yep,
kind of, well, at
yep,
least meh, 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 that really
yeah.
discounts and people don't feel seen, heard, appreciated, and valued. How do we incorporate this for ourselves and our teams?
Okay. I heard you use a word in the opening, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she used the word." I'm so glad you did.
I can't wait to hear what it was.
Deploy,
Oh,
deploy.
yeah.
So you listening, have you ever thought of deploying gratitude? Have you ever thought that gratitude is a value, an action that you can send on a mission in your workplace, right? You can deploy gratitude's not just this, this que sera, sera, just this little extra thing, confetti, boom. No, you can deploy it. You can send it on a mission. And we talked in the previous session about pausing, noticing, expressing. So, as leaders at any level, leaders who first lead yourself,
Amen.
and Jen, right? Leaders who first lead yourself. What if you just so the goal is not to sprinkle gratitude on the top, not to just have gratitude be this, an afterthought. And oh yeah, gosh, employee of the year. Who can I nominate? Right. And this is I appreciate companies having formal systems of recognition and appreciation. But the problem is if that's the only time
Yes.
appreciation and recognition are done, if there's never any informal, hey, high five. I heard how you handled that customer.
Mhm.
We were about to lose that account because we'd screwed up and we'd missed, and you stepped in and wow, you saved the day. Boom, right? Celebrate that.
Yeah.
So, uh, when you first off pause, notice, express, you got to see it. So here's the three-step things I think that are required for leaders to deploy gratitude. You've got to see amazing things when they happen.
Mhm.
Somebody goes above and beyond, you have to first see it. If you don't see it, you'll never celebrate it,
Yeah.
right? If you don't see it. So you see it, then when you see it, the pause, you seize that moment. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. I just heard about, Stewart and what Stewart did to save this account. So I see it, I seize that moment. Now I want to seal that moment with
Mhm,
some kind of recognition, with some kind of appreciation. So a couple of years ago, we created from some very simple, tangible tools for doing this. A little card,
mm,
right? On the front, it says, "I'm grateful for you." And we have two sizes of this card. We have a business size version that we call an impact card, and we have this legacy card. So this is used when somebody's being recognized as the employee
mm,
of the month or something. Write a longer note to them, make it personal. But when you see somebody in the moment going above and beyond, what if you just call that out? However you call that out, you don't have to use a card, but whatever it is, say something. Go, wow, I heard what you did, I saw what you did. And then you have to, so let me give you one other. So there's seize, seal, and then there's the 4S formula. Oh gosh, and if some of this is video, right?
yeah,
Can I quickly, yeah, I can present. Let's see, can I share? Let's see, share you. Let me walk you through this real quickly to make gratitude and appreciation memorable and meaningful. 4S's involved. First off, keep it simple, right? There are
mm,
no magic words that you have to use. It doesn't need to be a certain length. So just keep it simple. The next thing you've got to remember when it's simple, it's got to be sincere.
yeah.
If you don't mean it, that's when it falls into that toxic positivity, or that insincere. And people have well-defined BS sensors, and they like, "Psh, you
I think
don't
they're
mean
getting
that. You're just
further
saying."
higher and higher.
Simple, sincere. When it is, be specific.
Mhm,
When you did this,
yeah,
here is the impact that had on the team, on the client, on the customer,
yeah,
whatever that is. So keep it simple, make it sincere, but be specific. When you do that, the gratitude you communicate is significant, right?
mhm,
It's way bigger than these elements alone. Simple, sincere, specific makes it significant. But watch this, Jen. If you are consistent in doing this, right? You do it day after day after day, or week after week. It's not just this one thing you do once a year or once a quarter, but this becomes part of your vocabulary. It's transformational,
yes,
right?
yes.
This kind of culture, it becomes transformational. So simple, sincere, specific makes it significant. Doing it consistently makes it transformational.
It's so good. It reminds me, so you as a man may not have experienced having to write wedding thank you notes and baby shower thank you notes.
I have. I help my
And
wife with those.
okay, there you go. Even in high school graduation notes, and I can remember being in high school and being like, oh, all of the, I really am grateful, but I have to write all these notes, and people just gave you money. And I'm like, you're not allowed to say thanks for the money, in a thank you note. And it reminds me of that I had to say thank you for coming, like seeing them somehow, seeing that moment, but also saying thank you for the gift. Here's what I'm going to do with it, and here's
Yeah.
what that means to me. And
Yeah.
I can remember saying, "I thank you for this. Thank you for your gift. I'm using it at Bed Bath& and Beyond to get new towels for my dorm room. And so that will be so helpful to me at school, or whatever, because,
Yeah.
I wasn't quite so eloquent, just as long-winded. But that in that moment, I had to really think about it. It made me think harder than just thanks for the pen. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
and so
All
I
right.
think
And
that
no.
has so powerful to be specific, and the
Yeah.
impact that that will have,
Yeah.
or the impact that it did have. Because I think that's the part that we also often forget. Thanks for completing this. And people are like, oh, it's just part of my job. But when you connect it to the impact on customers, clients,
Yeah.
coworkers, whatever, that's part of purpose. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it joyful. That's what makes
Or
it
you
specific.
tie it back to values.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You brought our value of X to
Exactly.
life when you did that. Wow, thanks for being a values champion,
Hmm.
right? Because for so many companies, values are just these words on a wall, but when they become
Oh, yeah.
actions that you see in the hallways, celebrate it, call it out,
Absolutely.
right? So another principle we use is ACE, appreciate, celebrate, elevate.
Mhm.
right? Who do you want to appreciate and what for? What are the actions you choose to celebrate, or what are the principles, practices, or values you want to elevate? Use that when you're expressing gratitude. And Jen, one more thing I've got to say before time runs out on us, right? I mentioned this earlier, the sprinkle.
Uh-huh.
When you deploy gratitude, what if, and this is what we help leaders, teams, and companies do, what if you start infusing
Mm,
gratitude into your daily activities and actions?
yeah.
So one way we do this is we look at, and most leaders can kind of break down. If you think back to Stephen Covey, talked about the three big rocks.
Mhm.
Most leaders have three big buckets of things they do consistently. What is it that you do? Well, then if you were to break those down and go, okay, so I host conversations. I'm in conversations with employees, with customers all the time. Okay, well, what would it look like to infuse some gratitude into that conversation today?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or I host meetings. I deliver presentations on behalf of the company. Okay. What would it look like to infuse gratitude into your presentation? This
Yeah.
doesn't mean, and we've worked in medical field before, right? And I have a friend who's the CEO of a healthcare organization, and we were talking about this. How, because some people go, hey, I don't have time to be grateful. Like, oh, okay, wait a minute. What do you think we're asking you to do? We're asking you to write a thank you note to everybody that does something amazing every day. Well, maybe, but maybe you just do that once a week and you write 3 to 5 notes that for that week. But what if a surgeon, as he or she is about to lead the team into surgery, just pauses a moment, looks around the room and goes, "Oh my, what an amazing team I get to work with
Mhm.
today. This is going right. Thank you for bringing your best to the surgery we're performing on this patient."
Yeah.
Okay, how much time did that take?
We are so rushed, and we talked about this in the last episode too. Like, we push forward so fast. We feel this pressure, like, I can't take it. And I also think there's a touch of fear that people are either going to think I'm insincere, or even more, the deeper fear is it's vulnerable. It's
Yeah, yeah,
vulnerable to say it like that.
yep, it is.
To expose your gratitude is vulnerable, but
It's
it's
pretty
so
crazy, but
powerful.
it is, right?
It's so
To
powerful.
say thank you to someone for doing something means you couldn't do it without them. You couldn't do it by
Absolutely.
yourself.
It's
And
so
there's a
much.
lot of work done. Okay, and this is especially true. You mentioned this earlier about women writing thank you notes. This is particularly true of men having this problem.
Mm.
It was first pointed out to me in Latino cultures that I had worked with a leader, and he goes, we have this machismo thing, and it's really hard because we did this thing where everybody had to show up for a session, and then there was a follow up activity that was optional. And on day 2 of this, my friend says, "Do you notice something about our optional group?" I said, "Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't notice it." He goes, "None of the men came," right? It was all the women on the team joined the option. And why is that? Well, because of this machismo. And then I was working with a friend in a Jewish organization, and they found a rabbi who had written this about how hard it is for men to express gratitude because they perceive it as having to admit a lack, something they lack.
Mm,
And I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh." I mean, that maybe if I don't believe that's true, right? It's not that I've lacked, it's that you've brought something else. And who of us can do it all by
Oh my gosh,
ourselves? Nobody can.
absolutely. It's a myth that
It's a myth.
you don't lack.
Yeah.
It's a myth. And so, oh, I wish that we could keep talking. It's so, so good. I'm so appreciative of you being here. I would love for you to invite people into what you are doing next and how they can keep in touch with you. Is that your website? Is it LinkedIn? What would you like to invite folks into?
So if you're on LinkedIn, please reach out to me and please let me know that you heard this episode of Joyosity, that's how we met, or that you're a friend of Jen's, because I love that. You can reach me at kevindmonroe.com. That's our website. And we've got something, oh yeah, that down there. And brand new, go to hopehacks.com.
Okay.
hopehacks.com. We didn't even talk about this today, but one of the things we've noticed, and you've been talking about this in other episodes, right? There's a lot of despair in the world now.
Mhm.
There's a lot of heaviness. Well, hope grows in gratitude. Hope grows in gratitude. So we've created this resource, 7 hope hacks, which are 7 science-based practices of how you can grow hope in your life and on your team. And they all connect to gratitude.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here, for taking your time. We had, some behind the scenes gratitude here is that I had a cancellation and then we had booked this 6 months in advance to get this date with the guest, and she had to cancel. And it happened while I happened to be on a meeting the first time I met Kevin, and had just said, "Hey, is there any way you could do this in the next couple weeks?" And so I appreciate your flexibility, for you showing up and just being such a great guest at the end of our season this year and helping us move into gratitude. And so I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
And I'm grateful for the invitation. And Jen and I both, may I say this? We're grateful to you who
Mhm.
watched and listened, because
Yes,
that's
thank
why
you.
we do this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Come back next week. Shelby and I are going to talk about what we learned over the month, for in case you missed it. And we will see you all next week. Bye.
So let me put my coach hat on for just a moment. Don't just leave this here. Take a moment. What did you learn? What's your next tiny action step? Share this episode with someone and tell them what you're going to do. Check the show notes for all the links and connect with us on LinkedIn and all the other socials, or just, drop me an email at Jen with 2 N's at jenwhitmer.com. We want to keep this conversation going with you. I know your earballs have a lot coming at them, so thank you for listening to the Joyosity podcast and being a part of our community. Please take a moment to rate and subscribe. It helps more people join us in the movement to create positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. Can't wait for you to join us next week.